Hi. Um, Today I want to talk about an interesting um, subject that I have actually elaborated a lot in my book. Again, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and help make a change. Try and impact the lives of the poor and defenseless people in sub-Saharan Africa. Let's try and fight this negative image that has been created, which is unfortunately playing a very significant role in the way that people see and treat the innocent citizens and people in sub-Saharan Africa. And the point that I want to talk about today is that relating to the international media and the role that they play. Um, the international media is, in my view, the worst culprit in the stereotyping and the status quo of the plight of the people in sub-Saharan Africa, especially the dark-skinned people. The international community bears a very, very big percentage of the way people see the continent of Africa, especially the dark-skinned population, and the countries and their countries in sub-Saharan Africa. I sometimes find this to be so unfair as to how they can live with themselves, because I strongly believe that most of these international journalists, and in this case I would also dare criticize the journalists from the dark-skinned populated countries in sub-Saharan Africa as well, because they could have made a change. There are some of them who are working in collaboration with some media houses outside, abroad, in the United States, in Europe, and so on. So sometimes I wonder as to why they don't seem to want to do better. This has been going on and on and on and on, and it's been sort of become a part of their reporting. Why is it not interesting to the international media to present the continent of Africa south of the Sahara, or rather countries on the continent south of the Sahara, in other ways than what is always been? Are you the only one that knows that there are some other positive sides as well? All this needs to be questioned. I do not understand why a media that is interested in reporting from places which are supposed to be unknown, because that is what Africa is supposed to be, unknown. If you're familiar with some of the expressions and the adjectives that have been used to qualify, the dark continent, which sometimes sounds so unfair, because it's been a product of this stereotyping, as if nothing bright comes out of this. That is not true. It is the work of the international community, or rather international media, to do their homework very well and show some interest if they and when they report in dark-skinned populated in sub-Saharan Africa. It shouldn't be that they just refer to their files and then come up with the same bogus story time and time again until things look bad. And usually, I'm sorry to say, but usually they don't really care. They don't really care. Because if the leaders in those countries themselves are part and parcel of the manipulation, why should the international media care? All they do is to fill in their news with the usual negative news. Africa is of no interest. No, no, the international community and the international media is simply not interested in presenting the societies, the dark-skinned societies in sub-Saharan Africa any positively. They're not interested. Why are we not hearing that, um, countries that used to colonize those societies down in sub-Saharan Africa have actually gained a lot. And still today, countries like France, United Kingdom, different places, they are still benefiting from the long-term relationships they had when they were down there to colonize. So therefore, I am sometimes very irritated, I must say, when I hear the international, or when I see the international media making some sort of effort, which we all know that they are just mentioning or touching on some surface issues and not really caring to go deeper. I get very, very surprised when still today, in the year 2016, that a lot of the international media do not know the differences between various sub-Saharan African countries. They don't even know. Their journalists don't even make an effort to find the correct adjectives to qualify these countries. And therefore, to most of them, why bother? He's from Uganda and the other one is from Gambia. So what? I mean, that's an African, because that's the picture that's been painted. He's from Sudan and he's from Rwanda. So what? That's an African. I mean, they wouldn't do the same thing here. They would make sure to present the true identity, which I have actually touched on in my earlier excerpts, of the people, for example, from Brazil and from Argentina, from Colombia and from Honduras. They will do the same for someone from Germany and someone from Belgium. They will do the same for someone coming from England and someone coming from Spain. It's as simple as that. But the international media, when it comes to Africa, quote unquote, they don't care. And this has very, very serious negative effect. The stereotyping must be attacked. The international media has an interest. They shouldn't just ignore sub-Saharan Africa and then just pops up once in a while when they want to present the same old picture that we've seen before. Suffering and poverty. Right now, as I'm talking here, I read yesterday and the day before of an impending famine expected to hit northern Nigeria or something, which is going to affect thousands of people. I'll bet you don't know. I'll bet many people do not know this. Because it's been mentioned, the United Nations have people down there who monitor and come out with information to try and warn the international community of an impending danger that might end up killing a lot of people. But when it comes to these sub-Saharan African countries, the international media just touches on the surface and just forgets it. How many times do you hear of something positive coming out from the continent of Africa, south of the Sahara? No. Kids here do not know that the countries in sub-Saharan Africa produce this and produce that. Most of the coffees, most of the cocoa, the chocolate they're drinking and eating and all that, they don't know, because the international media is not interested to present that side. They must maintain the stereotyping, and that is seriously affecting lots and lots of people and needs to stop. But it can only stop with your help. It can only stop with your contribution. And the reason why I have made an effort to write this book and set up this platform is to enable people to come in so that we can take up this mantle and do something. Because it's simply not right. It is about time that we do something. I was seeing a soccer game one time. It was during one of those biannual competitions in between African countries called AFCON. And of course, as expected, a lot of the viewers in most European countries who are for the first time being treated to a live sporting competition between two African nations, and therefore usually there is a possibility for viewers to come in with their comments. And I remember I read a comment that someone had written to the commentators as to why is it that they know that Africa is poor, and yet here are some beautifully built modern stadiums used for these competitions. And right there and then I said to myself, oh Lord, help us. And this question coming from this individual is a reflection of the ignorance, which is not his fault. But he forgets, or he has no clue that it is not all poverty. It is not all, starving people. It is not all children without clothes on, with bloated stomachs, and flies hovering all over their faces and all that. That's not what it all is. There are buildings of proper status, buildings and infrastructures, even though they are not at the level that it is in most of these developed countries. It is something worth talking about. That these stadia and so on that he was seeing for the first time is something new. It's not. In most of these dark-skinned populated African countries, if you were to get an opportunity to see their cities, some of their cities are comparable to here, but the international media are not interested to show that. They are interested in to show you the usual clay huts and barren grounds and the usual tree picture perfect images of the African. In fact, it is a shame for me sometimes when I have to mention this, that what is actually enjoying and what is getting the full support and sort of relevances of Africa are the animals. The elephants and the lions, God bless them, running around. They always get the full attention, the images that they need, because that is more interesting for people. They would rather contribute more for the survival of these animals than they would do with a poor child, poor man, poor woman who is starving, has no food to eat. Because that picture, they've seen enough of it, and they don't want to see it anymore, because the African needs to help themselves. And whose fault is this? I give this straight to the international media, and therefore my point today is how we can attack the role that is played, the unfortunate, unfair role played by the international media when dealing with dark-skinned population countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe and see you again soon.